Namaste. My name is Michelle Skaletski-Boyd. I'm the CEO and founder of SoulFelt Words Incorporated. I'm about to present to you a series of short stories full of inspiration and motivation for the soul. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the experience.
Welcome to the first edition of the SoulFelt series. This is a lesson for the soul taught through the subconscious mind. The story is entitled, Unconditional Love is for the Birds. It's designed to get you to rethink your thinking, to retrain your brain, and to be kind to your mind. Before we get into the actual story, I will need you to participate with me on a visualization exercise. I want you to please close your eyes. And whatever you do, don't think about a rose. Don't imagine the flower called the rose. Don't visualize its long green stem. And don't see its pointed, prickly thorns. Don't imagine its sweet, fragrant scent, nor its soft, colorful, velvety petals against your nose. Now you haven't pictured a rose, have you? What's that? You did picture a rose? Now why do you suppose this happened? We're told to think one way, but our mind does just the opposite. Have you ever had someone tell you not to trip and fall, and then you did? I know that happened to me in grade school. Or you might have heard someone say, "Don't worry," and though you weren't worried before that, then you started to be? Why does this happen? Or have you ever watched a parent tell their child, "Don't cross the street," only to see the child look at their mom or dad and then turn to the other side and run across the road? Why does the suggestion of not doing something cause our brain to do it anyway? The answer is simple. Our brain thinks in pictures. It is programmed to do what we tell it to, but it has no concept of negation. It cannot perceive darkness without first seeing light. This is why asking your brain to remove an idea from your mind means placing it there first. And since thoughts precede feelings, if emotions go along with the picture and include any of our five senses, which are direct links to our mind, the odds of us not visualizing the very thing that we were told not to do, it's extremely unlikely. Now one more exercise, just to make sure that you've really got it. If your eyes are still closed, you can go ahead and open them now. Think about the word unsoured. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Un is a prefix. It implies the opposite. Yet when you first saw and heard the word, were you thinking about something sweet? Or did you perhaps think about something sour? Like soured milk perhaps? Or a sour lemon? Or sour grapes? Is your nose beginning to wrinkle when you think about that sour smell? Or is your mouth puckering from the very thought of a sour taste? When we program negations into the mind, the brain will guess what we mean by giving it a picture, and then it often carries at least one of the five senses along with it, and then it will really stick. So unless we consciously tell our brain to change the picture, which takes an additional step, it will remain imprinted in our mind incorrectly. For example, when you imagined unsoured, how long did it take before sweetness came to mind? Or before you thought about that milk or those lemons or grapes as fresh and sweet, and before you saw them as unsoured? Thoughts lead to feelings, which then lead to action, which is why we can sometimes find ourselves doing the very thing we were told not to do. Now that you understand how your brain works, especially when we program negations into it, let's get on to our SoulFelt story. Once upon a time, a family of ducks lived near a beautiful pond. The ducks loved to swim and bask in the sun. Mama Duck had taught her inquisitive daughter Sally to love unconditionally, no matter what. Yet Sally noticed every time she thought about the word unconditional, she pictured boundaries and limitations in her mind. Why did this occur? Unable to stop thinking about it, Sally got permission to visit with Gus the goose. He was a very wise goose, so surely he would know why Sally perceived unconditional love with parameters and restrictions. Determined to learn about unconditional love, Sally swam to a nearby river where Gus lived. Gus happily greeted her. "Hello, Sally. So nice to see you." Sally explained to Gus why she felt the need to be there. "How do we love unconditionally?" she asked Gus. "It takes lots and lots of work," Gus replied. So I'm not working hard enough," Sally replied. "Perhaps," said Gus, "but there is another way." Gus suggested Sally visit with Sven, the swan, who would be able to explain it even better. Sally flew over to Sven and explained what she had learned thus far. "Why do you suppose you need to work even harder?" Sven inquired. Sally thought about this for a moment and was unable to answer. "Do you see those birds over there?" Sven asked Sally. Sally looked over to her right and saw several birds sitting on a log. "Does it look like they're questioning whether or not they should accept one another fully and completely?" Sven asked Sally. Sally responded, "It looks like they're loving one another regardless of how different they may be." "Exactly," said Sven. "That is your answer." Not quite satisfied, Sally swam over to the group of birds. She noticed other ducks were there too. She began to tell all of them everything she had learned. Polly the pelican overheard the conversation and swam even closer. "The answer is within you," she said. "Ask yourself why the mind has to work so hard at understanding unconditional love, and then you will know." Just then a light went off in Sally's head. She shook her tail feathers and began to smile. She now had her answer. Love fully, love totally, love absolutely, love clearly, love definitely, love 100%, love completely.
And that concludes another week of the SoulFelt series. I hope you've enjoyed it. To learn more about my motivational speaking business or to catch up on my blog, please go to www.soulfelt.com. That's SoulFelt.com. Until then, enjoy the experience.